Hey everyone, it's Izzy Eze,
along with Thembe, and welcome to Somewhat Grown,
a podcast about adulting from two 30-somethings just figuring it out
and embracing the process. Hi people, hello.
Hey everyone.
Welcome back. It's another episode of Somewhat Grown.
Yeah, it is.
How are you doing today? How have you been since we last caught up in June?
Are you talking about me or are you talking about the audience?
You.
Oh, me, girl, I'm doing well. I've been okay, thank you. Just been lifing. Life has been lifing, I think um I've just been going through different phases of busyness, I should say. And so I'm trying to find those pockets of peace and just understand that like I'm never just gonna have spare time, if that makes sense. Like you have to create that spare time
Hmm.
to do nothing. And so that's kind of what I'm trying to do without feeling guilty that I haven't texted someone back, for example. So
Hmm.
yeah, that's kind of me right now. Yeah. What about
Definitely.
you?
I'm good. Yeah, I'm good. And I guess speaking of taking spare time, I'm back from Bali.
I was waiting for you to say it. I would Assembly's all humble sometimes, so I was like, she doesn't say it. I'll make sure I do. But yes, tell us about it.
Yeah, it was really fun. Oh my goodness. Like, I
Yeah.
feel like I kept thinking in my head, like, if the phrase too blessed to be stressed was a place,
Come on.
it would be Bali. Um,
Serious.
Honestly, it is just
Why?
really warm people. I think that was actually one of my highlights. The people are so
Mm,
warm and
mm,
really kind um and it was obviously really beautiful. I love a lot of nature when I go traveling, and I got to go
mm.
to different parts of the island and was in the jungle for a little bit, which was really nice and lots of green. And
Nice.
then from the jungle, I then went to the coast, which was gorgeous. And because the coast, at least the side I was on, was on the east. No, it was on the west.
Mm,
So it had like amazing sunsets, which is like my favorite thing.
mm. Wow.
I literally never go bored of sunset. So yeah, it was really nice just being
Mm,
able to take all of that in and made some friends, made a couple of friends as well. Um,
mm,
yeah, and ate a lot of good food, did some
mm,
yoga,
mm.
partying too. Hey, Bali parties.
Really? How? Like they're just like party people.
It's not even that. I think it's like there's pockets of people for everyone. So if you want
Mm,
to go there and be all spiritual and all
mm,
kumbaya, there's
mm.
pocket of people for you for that.
Yeah,
If
yeah.
you want to go there and be all detox, natural vibes, good food eating, there's a
Mm-hmm.
pocket of people for you. If you
Mm.
want to go there and like party, and there was a WhatsApp group that I joined and I didn't engage in because it wasn't that helpful for me. But like
Right.
there's like Black in Bali. But yeah, no, I really enjoyed it.
I'm proud of you. Solo trip, first in a long time, right?
Yeah, solo trip
Mm.
first in a couple years actually.
Mm,
Um, but I'm really glad I did it. I felt a lot more nervous this time going to it actually.
mm,
But I think as soon as I got there, I kind of like settled into it.
mm.
But yeah, it was good. It was good.
I'm just realizing why you went and the fact that we haven't spoken about the fact that we both turned 31. Have we spoken about that in our last podcast?
No, I guess not.
We
Yeah.
didn't. I was trying to debate whether to actually do something, just because the 30 was very big, as you can imagine. I was like, yeah, we had our joint holiday in Barbados, and then I did like a UK party in the house and stuff. So 31, I was like, nobody's gonna see me, and then just sort of last minute decided to go out to dinner with my fiance and friends. So that was really nice, and you were just partying it up, which is also nice. Anyway.
Yeah, yeah, it was. It was nice. I had a spa day for my birthday actually. It was very chill, very low key.
Oh, super low key. Mm,
Yeah, but
awesome.
it's good to treat yourself. It was interesting. Like I read back my letter to myself that I wrote when I was 30, and I
Mm,
think one of the big reflections for me with 31 is that I feel like the last couple of years were like very testing and challenging, but
mm,
I feel grateful for it because I now know more like what I'm made of and what those things were that
Mhm.
helped me navigate that. And
Mhm.
yeah, just kind of, it was nice to be like reminded of those things. And actually, even in my letter to myself, I was like, remember, these are the things that held you. And like, I like listed it down.
Mm.
That was really nice because I actually even forgot
Mm.
about that. Uh,
Mm.
but yeah, yeah.
Love that. Love that for you.
So we wanted to talk about ADHD today. This is something that feels like it's been maybe a little bit, not, I don't want to say a buzzword, but I think something that's definitely been trending as a topic
Mm.
in recent years. There's been a lot of, well, for people who may not know, um, people who are seeking diagnosis as adults for ADHD has increased a lot, and it
Mhm.
has put quite a bit of a, I guess, an overwhelm on our NHS services, for example.
Mhm.
And there's also been a big upsurge on women who are getting diagnosed with ADHD. And along with this, I think there's also been a lot of, I guess, people on social media and TikTok talking about their ADHD, some
Yeah.
diagnosed, some undiagnosed.
Mhm.
And yeah, we're here and we're talking about it. And I guess the reason why we are personally talking about it as well, at least let me start from me,
Mm.
is I recently got diagnosed with ADHD
Mhm.
and it has been eye opening. And, um, a year ago, I think, or whenever we thought about talking about this topic,
Mhm.
we I wasn't diagnosed, and it wasn't something that I don't think we either of us necessarily seriously suspected we had
Mhm.
maybe, but I think
Yeah.
it was more about this is a thing, and sometimes you feel like you can relate to the way people talk about having ADHD,
Mhm.
but to what extent, you know?
Exactly. Yeah.
So yeah,
No, I hear that. And for me, I mean, I haven't been diagnosed with ADHD, but I am interested in kind of going on that journey. Just because there's certain things that Thembe shares, and I feel like, yeah, that sounds exactly like me. And yeah, but the thing is, I'd never ever want to say that I have something and not actually know that I do. So I think especially in this episode, I'm gonna tread that line very, very carefully. But having reading up on it as well. But let's talk about how we can relate ADHD to our topic, to our random word today, and
yes,
then maybe jump straight into it.
yeah,
Cool. So the random word for today is few, like FEW.
okay.
It's incredibly random.
Can you think of anything?
Can I say that there are few adults that I don't even know if that's true. I was thinking there are a few adults that are going on the path of diagnosis, or there are a few adults that maybe suspect they have it but are actually kind of doing the work in terms of trying to find out if they have it. I don't know. I think, for obvious reasons, that I mean, for many different reasons, that path is difficult, quite expensive to find out if you have ADHD, and also a very long waiting list from what I hear, unless you have the plug like Tembi does. But even at that, yours still took forever, right? So maybe I would say, yeah, if the pathway wasn't so difficult, maybe there'd be more people seeing if they've got ADHD, but maybe right now it's few. That's the only thing I could think of.
Hmm.
Yeah.
And I guess few is also relative because I don't know what the population is of people who have it, and yeah, and the way that the NHS kind of come across, I'll talk about this a bit more. It's like they're overwhelmed. They're having too many
Mm-hmm.
people trying to get
Mm,
diagnosed that they're turning
mm,
away. Um,
mm,
but yeah, it makes me wonder, like, on a grand scheme of things, how much is that really, you know?
mm, mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
So yeah, I think that's an interesting one.
mm.
When I think of few, um, no, I actually can't think of one for this.
No way! The word of the day, stump Tembi.
Few is just
I mean, that's okay. I mean, it doesn't have to be,
unless I can break or bend the rules a little bit.
girl, this your
Um,
podcast.
I'll bend the rules a little bit and make it like few, as in PHEW.
Okay. I mean, because we never said it had to be spelled a particular way.
It's what I heard it. I didn't see it. So,
Exactly. Okay.
but yeah, I think if I was going to say few, I would relate to that because I think for
Mm,
me it has been a massive relief to actually
mm,
be able to understand and contextualize the way I function and my brain works as a person uh,
mm,
through ADHD, and that is because it's been a long journey of uh, maybe misdiagnoses or different diagnoses people talk about when you have ADHD. It has comorbidities, which means that usually someone will also struggle with something else that presents itself as a mental health problem, for example,
right.
anxiety or depression.
Mm-hmm.
And as someone who's like had experiences of that, but not necessarily fit the neat box all the time of what the experience of living with that is, I
Mm-hmm.
think being able to understand and make sense of things through understanding that it's ADHD, I think has been a massive relief. A lot of grief too, but I think it's also been a massive relief. It's kind of like, phew, okay, like this actually makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
This actually makes sense.
Mm.
Yeah.
Why grief? Do tell.
Grief because you realize that, especially I guess in the context of getting a diagnosis of ADHD as an adult,
Mm-hmm.
so much of your life so far has been lived
Mm-hmm.
uh, through like a certain level of understanding, and
Mm-hmm.
maybe you look back and you see that there's moments where there was maybe a misunderstood or missed opportunity, and you realize that if I, at least for me, if I had known that I had it, I could have gotten maybe certain support in place
Mm-hmm.
so that I can overcome whatever challenges the
Yeah.
ADHD was giving me. And so I think there's a lot of grief in that, to be like, man, like if only people knew, if
Mm-hmm.
only my teachers knew, and things like that, maybe that could have changed things a little bit in some ways.
Mm. I
So I
hear
think
that.
the grief comes from there.
Yeah.
But to have some context, would it be helpful to kind of actually define ADHD?
Yes, please.
Because I feel like, I don't know about you, but like I've heard, before understanding it, it comes a lot in songs. People are like, "Oh, I'm so ADHD" and things like that, or like
Mm-hmm.
it's one of those things that people can like throw around.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But I think it's useful to kind of actually have the proper definition. So
Agreed.
I found this one from ADHD UK. Defines ADHD as a disorder that is defined through analysis of behavior. People with ADHD show a persistent pattern of inattention and or hyperactivity, impulsivity that interferes with day-to-day functioning or development.
Mm-hmm.
And in addition to that, I wanted to add another definition that I got from a BBC documentary that I watched called
Yeah.
Inside Our ADHD Minds.
Mm.
And they outlined it as ADHD is a difference rather than a disorder. And
Mm.
it's about struggling to regulate attention rather than not being able to maintain it. And I
I
thought
hear.
that was a really um, good one, because obviously ADHD stands for attention deficit and hyperactivity disorder.
Mm-hmm.
And at least in my experience of it, um, people kind of assume that someone with ADHD is going to be really disorganized, not be able to
Mm-hmm.
like follow certain things. And I've always been really structured and
Mm-hmm.
quite organized.
Mm-hmm.
And but like it, I like that it says it's about uh I guess like how you like regulate that rather than it
Mm-hmm.
not being there at all.
Mm-hmm.
Because there's moments where like it can be really really good and sharp in this one area, but then in other things it might not be so much.
Mm-hmm.
But I thought that that was a really good like added context on
Yeah.
that.
No, I love that. I love that you've explained it in that way because I think, like you said, we hear about ADHD quite often, on social media or in songs or in just normal conversation. People might say, "Yeah, I have ADHD," or "That was such an ADHD thing to do," or whatever. But actually understanding that ADHD doesn't look like one thing. It can be two different types, or combined. And I think, as some of us know, ADHD, I guess, is diagnosed more in young boys and when they're younger, because you can kind of see it immediately. For instance, they're hyperactive, or they're moving around a lot in school, whereas you don't really see it as much in girls. And I guess that translates to women and adults, because we might present, for instance, I say we, ADHD people might present as maybe um, focused and organized, and they might be, but actually, how long did it take to get there? If that makes sense, how long did it take to regulate your thoughts and your mind and everything? So yeah, I relate to that, and I think it's always interesting at people at work when they say like, "Oh, Isabel's just so, she's so calm," such a calm presence, and I'm like, I don't feel that way. Like, I get why you would say that, because I might present as calm, but internally my
Mm,
brain is just doing a lot, um, which is probably why I'm calm on the outside, because I need something to regulate it. I can't be hyperactive externally and still be hyperactive internally. So I think you just tend to find me just sitting there, just processing everything in my head, and
mm,
interpret that as me being calm.
mm.
Whereas if I'm at home, I'd be lying on the floor looking at the ceiling. You know what I mean? Um, and just recognizing that certain people have the same experience. I thought it was just me, but never mind.
That's like, yeah, I can relate to that so much as well. Like,
Mm.
similarly, like at work, people are like, yeah, Thembe, you're so zen and all these things. I'm just like,
Yeah.
but I agree, like similar to you, like it's like they don't know what's underneath. It's like,
Mm.
is it a swan where they're like
Yeah.
all elegant, but underneath they're just like,
Paddling away, man. Like,
doing your way. But that's,
mm.
yeah, that's so true. Um, but like, what, I guess, what made you start to be curious about
Hmm.
ADHD in and of itself? And like, you mentioned that you've been reading your book as well. Like, what's kind
Yeah.
of been resonant and insightful from that?
Yeah. No, definitely. So, I guess I will start the journey. I will start the journey in Jesus' name. Of finding out whether I have ADHD. But in the meantime, let me just read. You know what I'm saying? So actually, I do have the book here. We're not paid for this, but I'm nice. It's called How to ADHD by Jessica McCarby. It's a very chunky book, but very informative, and I'm just kind of making my way through right now. Um, I think the thing that I've learned most, hopefully I'm answering your question, but I think the thing I've learned most so far is just how broad ADHD is. And feeling, it's almost what you said to me, like that few kind of moment. Like, there's a lot that I would read and sort of start laughing because I'm like, oh, I didn't know that everyone, like other people, feel the same way. And just examples, my family kind of tend to joke, whenever Isabel's in the house, you can tell whenever she's around because you can see evidence of her, if that makes sense. Like, I'm never doing one thing. I'm doing 10 things at once. Like, if I want to pour some water or if I want to boil the kettle, in that meantime, what can I do whilst I'm
Mm,
waiting for
mm,
that
mm,
2 minute
mm,
kettle to boil,
mm.
Like, it's a 2 minute kettle. Just stand there and wait for it. I can't do that, So it's like, okay, let me empty the washing, and actually, let me go and eat something. Oh, let me answer that email whilst I'm. So it's just a lot. You might see, I guess, traces of me all over the house because I've had one thought and suddenly got distracted and went to go and do something else. But what I really like about the book is that it kind of gives you tools to um almost, I want to say, like, stop or have a moment of reflection and kind of basically stop yourself in the moment and put barriers in place. Um, and it's funny because it's like some of the barriers are like physical barriers, and I'm like, oh, that's so
Mm,
childish, but it's sort of like, you got to do what you got to do. Jessica talks about how sometimes she just puts like a child, those child locks or in your kitchen where babies kind of can't get through. She's like, if I'm in the kitchen, I'm in the kitchen. That child lock is
mm,
on. So even if I start thinking about something outside of the kitchen, I
Mm.
get to that lock and I realize, oh, okay, you're getting distracted. Let's go back to the kitchen
Wow.
and
Wow.
finish what you're doing in the kitchen, you know?
Wow.
Um, so just really interesting gems in that way, and it's so helpful. Someone else talks about how they have like notebooks in every single room. So if they want to focus on a task, and they remember something else, just write it down. It's not that you have to go and do that
Mm,
thing. You still have control. Like write it down and
mm,
come back to it when you're done with this. You know, so many things, but
mm.
yeah, really, really interesting.
That's,
Yeah.
yeah, that is really interesting. And it's making me think about like when you were saying about, um, I want to talk about like masking as well,
Mm-hmm.
because when we talk about like why the typical image of ADHD has been boys typically,
Mm-hmm.
um, and like why girls usually go under the radar a lot
Mm-hmm.
more is because, you know, we are socialized to be a bit more quiet and well
Mm-hmm.
behaved. And, you know, if a boy is being like hyperactive and just like running around and being really like aggressive, even, that's like, you know, boys will be boys. But as
Mm-hmm.
girls, like we're trained so much to like hide all of
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
And I think for me, like I didn't realize how many systems I put in place to like I guess manage the way my brain works.
Mm-hmm.
Um Almost like, you know, what you're saying with Jessica, I haven't even thought of doing things like the child lock. That would probably help me a lot, to be honest. But
Yeah.
there's definitely a lot of things that I've always like, or not always, but have learned to do as a way of managing things, like not misplacing things or
Mm,
forgetting things, because I know the level of anxiety and stress those things cause me, because it would happen a lot. But then it's like
right.
it's important. um and so
Mm,
so much of like how I am and the way that I live can appear sometimes like it's meticulous and
mhm.
really like maybe like very rigid, but
Yeah.
that is because I kind of have to be like this, because
Yes.
that's how I can contain and like literally be on a day
Yeah.
to day.
Yeah. Yeah.
um to the point where like if you watch me when I was on holiday, right,
Mm,
when I because I moved around different places, I would be almost like militant, be like I come in and I have this like really set way of how I unpack things,
mm,
and like
mhm,
everything is very ordered. And
mm,
there was one moment where I came back home, like maybe like late or something, and
mm,
I know like whenever I'm like staying somewhere, when I'm inside my room, I lock it and I leave the lock there. I leave the
mm,
key in the lock, because
mhm.
if I don't, everything else I know where it is. So if one
Yeah.
thing is not where it should be,
Mm,
and I remember there was one night where I didn't have the key inside the lock, and I was like freaking out. I'm like, no, like I know I need to have this there, because like now I
mm,
literally don't know where it is. And it
mm.
might seem like such a small thing, but like things like that,
Yeah.
I've come to realize now that for a neurotypical person, let me
Mhm,
not put that in quotes, for a neurotypical person, you know, like that's not necessarily going to be something that maybe occurs in the same way. And it's not something that they have to think about and put so much energy into like managing. But
mhm,
for someone whose brain can kind of like always is on, um
mm,
like mine, like something as simple as leaving a key in the lock
mm,
has a big impact, because
mhm,
if it's not there and I don't know
mhm,
where it is,
mhm.
that's going to take like maybe an
Takes up
hour
a
or more
lot.
out of my day,
Mhm,
and that has a knock-on effect. And
mm, mhm,
I think coming to realize things like that has been, yeah, really eye-opening. And even like
mhm,
at work,
mm,
I don't know if you've noticed this, but I feel like for me, a really big shift happened when we moved during like the peak of like the pandemic.
mhm, mhm,
We all had to move to working from home, and I
mhm.
feel like for me, like I noticed like I would really struggle to stay focused,
Oh,
and
wow.
I
Yeah.
think it wasn't necessarily because I didn't struggle with it before, but I think before, where were predominantly working in the office,
Mhm,
I in the office, like the way I work in the office, I'm like I'm sitting on my desk, I'll work for like half an hour, I'll get up and go do like you won't
mm,
notice it. I won't even notice that I'm not
mm,
focused. Do you know what I
mhm,
mean?
mhm, mhm.
But then when it came to being at home and then I'm having to sit there by myself in front of the computer, that was it was a battle.
Yes, definitely.
Um but again, is I think it was like that moment of like, oh, like that thing that masked this way of being wasn't
Yeah.
there anymore, and then I had
Mm-hmm.
to kind of like face it. Um,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and I think maybe that's happening for maybe a lot of other people as well.
Mm.
You know.
Yeah, I guess I'm just realizing I didn't answer the kind of first part of your question in terms of like, like how what made me want to kind of go on this journey of figuring out. Um and I think it's possibly by accident in a way. I think it was from a work situation maybe a few years ago. Um I was possibly I think I was talking to a friend at work and she was asking me how I am, and I was just talking about all the different things I have to do, but just kind of, yeah, we deal with it. We have to do it, so it's fine. Just let's just get it done. But otherwise, I'm fine, type of thing. And I think she used the term which I'm forgetting, but it was something like, I think you just like have high functioning anxiety, something along those lines. And I was like,
Hmm.
whoa, that's a big that's a big term, which I've not really heard before.
Hmm.
Um, and then sort of Googled it because I'm like, I never really came across, I never really thought I was like anxious or what have you. But when I looked at high functioning, I actually started laughing because every single bullet point felt like me. And then I think that kind of made me go down a rabbit hole of like what ADHD actually is and how it can present in women and adult women, especially. Again, because how I've understood ADHD growing up is ADHD is somebody who is always moving and can't pay attention, interrupts people when they talk and all this sorts of things. And I guess I never really thought that I was, I've always thought that I was, for example, a good listener. And I've always thought I've been very organized. They say ADHD people are not organized, but it, it, it is and it isn't, if that makes sense. And once I sort of started unlearning or expanding my learning on what ADHD can be, I sort of realized I think I fall into, one of these boxes, a couple of these boxes
Hmm.
actually. And then suddenly feeling, even though I haven't been diagnosed, suddenly feeling a bit more validated in terms of just how I am and how I behave. Like I used to live with my house with my friend. And there'll be moments where I'd feel so overwhelmed at everything that I had to do that I'd have to literally sit down and ask her, like, what should I do? Like, what I've got 10 things in my head, and I need you to help me unpack that and figure out what I need to do first and last and what can go away.
Hmm.
Um, because it was so hard for me to do myself,
Yeah.
and just those small things that I realized, like, wow, like, yeah, your parents might laugh that you leave breadcrumbs around the house, but actually it might be ADHD. And you could take this all the way back to childhood, and school reports and things like that. So I have a older elder sister, 1 year apart, and her reports would always come back as, Ebony is a pleasure to teach. She's wonderful. She's a pleasure to teach. And mine would be, Isabel should understand that school is not just a social playground and all this type of stuff. And if she put in more, Isabel has so much potential. If she just put in more effort, she would blah blah blah. So I'm
Hmm.
like, wow, that feels like I just get distracted easily, and I
Hmm.
just want to have a party all the time, perhaps. Yeah, I don't know. Do you
Yeah,
relate to any of that?
definitely. Oh my gosh, like
Mm,
in my family, like everyone like teases me, like a lot of my cousins, who a lot of them are like my siblings as well. Um,
mm.
just it's always been like a running joke about how I'd been naughty since like day one at school, from zero, from grade
Really?
zero.
No
They're
way.
branded as naughty, which is
Mm,
like,
mm,
yeah, like also like disruptive,
mm,
um talking when I shouldn't be, a lot of the similar things, and it's literally been consistent since I was
mm,
little. And I always thought like it was just misplaced, creative energy, because
mm,
when I then turned like 16 and I got really quiet and like focused, well, not necessarily focused, but I definitely got quiet, and that was gone. Um,
mm,
and it's interesting because, like, I think when I look back on it now, it's almost like,
mm,
um, I guess I learned that I had to like adapt in order to survive in a different way, and that meant kind of dampening a lot of that energy, and maybe
mm,
channeling it in different ways.
Is that masking as well? Another example of masking, or?
Absolutely,
Mm,
absolutely. It's such a like heavy part of it, I think.
mm-hmm,
And I think the key, I guess, to like that I was thinking about as you were speaking as well, and you
mm,
sharing that example, really good example of like, you know, your colleague pointing out that you are high functioning, having a high
mm,
functioning anxiety is in
mm,
order to get an ADHD diagnosis, it has to you have to experience these symptoms at a level where it is disruptive to your life. Because I think
mm.
to a lot of to an extent, you know, many of us can relate to a lot of things and
Right.
experiences
Yeah.
of these, and I think that's why sometimes people maybe shrug some people off, or
Yeah.
I even doubted myself to be like, well, I can relate to this, but you know,
Mm,
can I then come and find
mm.
go and seek out an AD? I kind of felt like I
How
didn't
do
want
I?
to
Why
do
should I
that.
claim this or whatever? Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Mm,
I definitely doubted myself, and I was like, no, like let people who actually have this go and get the support they need. I
mm,
surely can't.
mm-hmm,
And I think the thing that turned it for me was, um, yeah, I think it's when I realized that actually there are parts of this where like it really is impacting my life. And
mm,
I think it came up a lot when I was like studying whilst working full time, when I was doing my masters, and
mm,
it was really really hard for me to focus, and it took a
mm,
lot out of me to spend a lot
mm.
of long days trying to get a lot of work done.
Yeah.
And I don't think I allowed myself to like ask for the help that I needed, but because I didn't feel like I had a valid reason to ask for it, because it's like
Mm,
I should be able to work like everyone else.
right.
Um,
Interesting. Mm,
yeah, and I think also similarly, you know, you're talking about like anxiety, and that's something I
mm,
I was diagnosed with generalized anxiety disorder like 5 years ago, um, and I think that that's something I've kind of learned to manage, but at the same time, um, it is definitely something that um, has been like part and parcel of like I think managing ADHD. And so
mm,
um, I think the past year where I was kind of just freelancing and like
mm,
having to deal with not necessarily having the usual structure and financial security and stability around that I was used to, it
mm,
really exacerbated a lot
mm,
of anxiety for me at a level that made it difficult to function on a day to day. And my
mm,
mental health deteriorated significantly. And
mm,
um, and I guess I'm saying that also mainly to kind of be like, if anyone does doubt or question whether they have ADHD, it is important to like be curious and
mm,
compassionate to yourself, and
mm,
also like seek out that support. Um, and you know, when I first tried to explore getting a diagnosis, I
mm,
went to the NHS services. I did a pre early assessment.
mm,
Based on that, um, by the way, my GP saw that and was like, "You definitely kind of meet a criteria. There's definitely something here that indicates
mm,
that you very likely do have it." Uh,
mm,
but they were basically like, because I lived by myself and managed to pay my bills on time and things like that, which is something that apparently ADHD people struggle with. Uh,
mm.
they don't think that that's my issue, and it's something else. And basically, I got dismissed because of,
Wow.
which is mad. Because firstly, so many things are automated these days. Like direct debits. There's direct debits.
That's true. Say it up once and you're good to go. That's such a good point.
But like that situation was like really taught me, like, if you are going to go down the diagnosis route, you have to be prepared to self advocate.
Mm,
Because I went back and like they sent me a letter to basically say this, like, we don't think you meet the criteria, sorry.
crazy.
And then
Crazy.
they were like, if you have any questions or want to have any follow up, you can call us if you want to. Basically, to like if you want closure. Um,
Mm.
so I called them to like find out more about it. Long story short, I basically was like, I kind of questioned and then kind of said like it actually even concerns me as a service if you're going to be dismissing people with ADHD based on things like
Mm,
this, because you're kind of there are so many factors that can
Yeah.
contribute to why I can pay my bills on time, but
You
also
better tell them. That's what you told them. Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
I love
yeah,
it. I love it. I love
yeah.
it.
Long story short, after that conversation, they put me on the list for getting
Imagine.
a diagnosis.
Mm,
And alongside of that, I then went down the right to choose path, which is another option that the NHS provides. It's also free, but it basically means that a private provider does the assessment for you and also the diagnosis if you do get one, which
mm,
is what I did. And basically, it was like a span of like a year from starting that to then getting my diagnosis, which is very quick compared to if I
mhm,
had gone to the
mhm.
NHS, which I think they said to me I would minimum have to wait about 2 years. For
Oh,
some
that's
people,
still really small. Some
yeah,
people have been
they were like
waiting
two
for.
to 5 years. Yeah,
Wow.
yeah, two to
Crazy.
5 years. Um, yeah, so it is a journey,
Mm,
but I feel like it's definitely, yeah, I think it's important to like learn about who we are as people. And in our podcast, like we are about figuring it out and speaking
mm,
about our journeys about it authentically.
mhm,
um and I think finding out and learning and receiving an ADHD diagnosis for me
mm.
has been really significant
I was
because
gonna ask you, like, what, how? Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
how no, it's okay, as in like how did I get it.
No, just how it's been significant for you because it's one thing to. I mean, you're 31 years old and you've lived with it. I don't think it's something that comes and goes. Correct me if I'm wrong. I think it's just something that you have.
Yeah, yeah, it's
Right.
something that you need to have had experiences, like the symptoms need to have been there for at least 6 months,
Mm-hmm.
and it needs to have started before you were 12 years old.
Interesting.
Um, and it needs to also occur in two or more settings, for example, at home or at school,
Gosh.
or at home and at work. It can't just be something that happens when you're in like one setting.
Right. And
Um,
that's kind of how they determine whether it's just the general things that most people have versus something that happens all the time. For
yeah, I guess as like a first start, yeah.
Yeah, I get that. I
And
totally
then
get that. You know what that made me think of, strangely, another like
mm,
another example. It's just like when I was at uni, because I just spoke about, I guess, ADHD in a work setting, but also when I was at uni, I never took an exam without getting up and like leaving the exam hall.
that's crazy.
Do you know how mad that
That's
is?
like such a big thing for you. You're like, you will get up.
Like it's like I have to. I feel like I have to get up. Like I have like a standing desk right now for that very reason because I just can't sit. But I think when I took exams, I just felt like it's too overwhelming. Like I need a break, if that makes sense. Like I'm doing this, I'm answering the questions. I still have questions to answer, but I'm going to the toilet for some reason. It's like I need to stop being here for a period of time
Mm,
and
mm,
then come back and really be, okay, everything's good. We're good. And
yeah.
we're gonna answer these questions. That I would actually risk precious time,
Mm,
in order to feel like I had to function, which is so crazy that I'm just processing that now. Um,
hmm.
it's wild.
As in, like, you just recognize that that's a thing you do, and that is directly uh, like a behavior that's linked to ADHD.
Yes, exactly. That possible ADHD link, because I mean, yeah, I did it in school, and people would be like, "What are you doing? Like, why would you get up?" And we'd laugh and joke about it, and I'm just like, "Oh, I don't know, just need to use the toilet," type of thing. It was like I probably didn't, I just wanted to get up and like I don't know how to explain it, just kind of
Yeah.
re-regulate. I don't know what the words are, but I just needed that moment to kind of say like everything's cool and we're just going to go
Mm,
back in and it's going to be a new section of the paper and it's going to be fine. But
mm.
yeah, I don't know.
I think that's the thing as well about it, though.
Mm.
And this is why I think sometimes, like, I also think it's valid if someone doesn't necessarily seek out a diagnosis, is because
Mm.
ultimately, and I think this is what it is for me, like,
Mm.
getting a diagnosis isn't necessarily like it wasn't a new revelation. It
Right.
was more a thing that contextualized something that I've always felt. aware of and knew actually, and that is that I just
Mm.
operate differently.
Right.
I
Yeah.
think ultimately, like ADHD, it's not a disorder, it's a difference.
Mm.
And you knowing that you just need to get up and that's going to do whatever it's
Mm.
going to do for you. And then you'll come back and you call, you can crack on with your
Mhm.
exam.
Mhm.
Like, I ultimately, like, I think that's what is most important. And like knowing that
Mm.
you just like have your quirks about you,
Mhm. Mhm.
that means you just operate and move through the world differently. And obviously, a lot of
Mm.
that also is difficult. It makes things
Mm.
difficult.
Mhm.
And I think for me, things that I noticed was like, especially at uni, actually, like some coping mechanisms I do, I would always have like at least one day a week where I would shut down. No one could reach me. Um, maybe my mum, that was always the exception, but I would
Yeah.
always have at least one day you could not reach me. Like
Wow.
my phone's on airplane mode literally for like 24 hours.
Wow.
Um, and I would do that because I needed to have like something where I'd shut the rest of the world down and
Mhm.
like kind of almost like regulate and just like quiet
Mhm.
everything, because my brain is otherwise like constantly going and I'm
Mhm.
constantly like available and giving to people, and I'd feel burnt out essentially.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
I almost couldn't make sense of why I felt so burnt out. But then
Mm.
um, I just knew that I needed to have that day where I shut down, otherwise I'm not going
Mhm.
to function.
Mhm.
And I
Wow.
think, yeah, and just that other things like, yeah, when I'm like, I don't know, okay, it's a weird one, but I can bake fast.
Mm.
And when people, when people like are like see me baking, they're like, "Do you not use a recipe? Like, what's?" I
Yeah.
don't. I don't
Yeah.
follow a recipe. I've learned to do that because
Mm.
I've either like put myself in positions where I said I was going to make a cake, didn't leave enough time to do it, so I
Mhm.
then mastered how to bake fast. And then on top of that, I don't follow a recipe because like I feel like unless like I really really have to,
Mhm.
I just like skim the information because I just don't want to process all of that. Like, it takes me a long time to process information, which
Mhm.
people find surprising because I love reading and stuff. It takes me a
Mhm.
long time to read. It takes me a long time to process information. So because
Mhm.
I know that, I take like shortcuts all the time. And
Mhm.
that presents itself a lot when I'm baking. And so like
Mm.
I think that's like another one of the things. I was like, it's just my quirk. But also
Mm.
like I definitely can see how it's a way that I've kind of learned to navigate life a bit with the way that my brain works.
Hmm.
And just kind of wanting to take away the added layer of cognitive work that I have
Yes.
to do.
Mhm. Like, I
Which
have to read this. Like, I actually have to. Oh, come on. Like, we can figure it out. You know, it's fine.
this is what I'm
You know what I
saying.
mean? Oh,
This
sometimes I'll be reading. I'm reading the same line like 3 times. I'm like, you've read this and you still don't know what it's saying because you're thinking of something else. Like, it's
yeah,
mad.
it
You know,
is.
it's
And
crazy.
I think something that a lot of people like with ADHD, when I listen to like podcasts and stuff, they
Mm,
talk about like, is it a superpower or
mm,
is it like a curse? Because, on one hand, having ADHD, you know, and also I should say, like, another clear sign where I started questioning myself and whether I have ADHD
mm.
is looking around me, and a lot of my friends have ADHD.
I
Like,
know.
like,
Crazy.
yeah, it was crazy. I was like counting the amount of close friends that I have who have ADHD, and I was like, there's something going on where I just have an attraction and affiliation with people who work like this.
Yes.
I'm telling you, at least like four out of like
Wow.
five of like some of my closest girlfriends, actually
Mm,
one guy friend, have
mm,
ADHD. Three of them are diagnosed, two not.
mhm.
And I that was
Wow.
one thing where I was like,
Like, this is
maybe
not a coincidence. Surely
this
not.
is not a coincidence.
Surely not. Yeah.
This can't be a coincidence. But
Mm.
I was
I have
making
a
another point.
question.
Yeah, go on.
Hmm. Is it a question? Yes, it is. I guess following from what you said, I'm wondering whether you think that maybe subconsciously or unconsciously that was like a coping mechanism. Because my question actually is like, can you talk about maybe another example of where you might have felt misunderstood? Like if you could go back in time and be like, it's because I had ADHD. Like, could you maybe explain that? And is that the reason why maybe you've gravitated towards friends who won't necessarily question why you're doing that? I don't know.
Yeah. And
Mm.
actually, I think I'll talk. I've got an example with us, actually, to some
Oh,
extent,
okay.
because I remember it, and it seems like such a small thing,
Mm.
but I remember you retweeted something. I don't know if you remember this. You you retweeted something, which talks about how long ago it was, because I know you're not that active on Twitter
Yeah, you
now.
said tweet. I said, wow, I ain't even got that no more.
You were
Crazy.
in undergrad,
Uh,
and
mad.
um, you retweeted something that was something like just kind of like in praise of friendships where it doesn't require too much maintenance, and it's okay if you don't respond back to messages after a certain amount of time
Mm,
and things like that. And I
mm,
remember seeing that and being like, yeah, she gets me, because I'm
mm,
someone who like I find it stressful, anxiety
mm,
inducing if there's like pressure to be responsive at a certain time, because sometimes I don't have the capacity to respond at a certain
mm,
point. And
mm,
so even something as simple as that, I feel more
mm,
comfortable with people who are on the same page as me,
mhm,
like
mhm,
you, like you are.
mhm,
And I think other things was like I'd gravitate to people who I feel like this one's a bit harder to describe, but
mm,
I think that's something that I've noticed in people who are neurodivergent is there is a level of like open-mindedness and lack of judgment that I feel like
mhm.
I don't notice in the same way to neurotypical people.
I
So
understand
the
that.
way you do,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah, definitely.
how
I
in
thought it
what
was
way?
just a creative thing. I just thought it was like creative people are just more sensitive, more aware of themselves, just more accepting. I just thought it was like a it might be that
It
and
might be
ADHD.
that, and also there
Yeah.
is an overpopulation of creative people who are neurodivergent, right?
Well,
Like
there you go.
literally, I remember being at a poetry night before, and then someone was like, someone who was ADHD, and then they were like, "Is there anyone else in the ADHD in the audience who's ADHD?" And then it's like, to be honest, we're at a poetry night, so it's probably all of us, kind of thing. And like everyone was laughing, but it's like it's true. Like we
Mm,
kind of do gravitate towards those things. Um,
mm.
and that kind of brings me back to my point of like, is it a superpower? Is it a curse? I think
I think neither, but go ahead. No, no, go ahead, go ahead. I just think neither.
I think I agree. But why
Ooh.
do you say that? Oh, I think it's both, actually. I think it's both.
Okay. So I'm saying neither, and you're saying okay. Why do you say both?
I think both because it does make it more difficult to navigate life. And I think you can't
Mm,
romanticize,
right.
I can't romanticize the fact that it's impacted my educational journey. I've
Mm-hmm.
always felt like and a lot of teachers have always said I'm bright, but that hasn't necessarily always translated into
Mm-hmm.
academic work sometimes.
Mm,
I can't romanticize that it's impacted, the way that I'm understood by people and
yeah.
therefore misunderstood and how difficult
Yeah.
that's been.
Mm-hmm.
Um, at the same time, I think that I'm grateful because, ADHD means like, that I guess, I think feel things a lot deeper.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And as a creative, that's definitely a blessing and a curse.
Mm,
But I think as I'm coming to understand it more now, I'm grateful that if I can tap into it alongside with all the support and like well-being that I'm able to maintain, it
mm,
means that hopefully I can connect with people more. And I
mm-hmm.
think it's fed into like my ability to do that so far as a writer.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I think it's both.
Mm, mm-hmm.
What about you? Why do you say neither?
I don't know. Strangely, I say neither for similar reasons that you say both. And I think it is because ADHD can't be romanticized. I don't think it should be. I get why people would say it's a superpower in the sense that, you want to, in a world where you feel like you're so different or misunderstood, you want to feel special, and so you want to call it a superpower so that it's something that you're proud of, maybe. um but for me, I almost want to kind of, I gravitate more towards like, I just want to be, I don't want to say fit in, but I just want to be here, and I just want to be accepted, and I'm just existing in the same way that you have a brain that's in quote normal or neurotypical. It's the same way that I have a brain that's not typical. You know what I mean? It's just like, yeah, we just out here. We're just different. Like I want ADHD to feel like almost like how we all have different personality types, or how we all just operate differently on different levels. I don't necessarily want it to be seen as the worst thing in the world, and I also don't want it to be kind of put on a pedestal per se, unless you are putting opportunities out there for people who have ADHD to kind of thrive, like from an equitable perspective. But I don't necessarily. I mean, my mind might change. Who knows? But right now, I just kind of want to be right there in the middle, sort of thing. Um, and for me, that kind of means neither. But
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know. We'll see. As I say this, I also think like there are certain ways that I would love to be more understood, and maybe I do need to kind of talk about it more, and like almost put myself into the light in order for people to understand me. I can't just expect them to understand if I don't put myself out there. And like one example again is what you're saying about focus, and what I was reading in the book about like hyper focus and what that is. And I really think that I'm misunderstood in many respects when I hyper focus, in the sense that when I finally find focus, I literally drown out everything else. And you can imagine in many contexts, and that might not rub people the right way, because you might be seen as somebody who's rude or somebody who's disrespectful or whatever. Whereas actually, I'm just so desperate to hold on to this thing called focus that feels like it's going to disappear if I don't just stay in this moment and forget
Mm.
about eating. You know what I mean? Because it's like,
Forgetting about
last
eating. Oh man.
because for the last 3 hours I couldn't find that focus, and I have it now, and you want to talk to me like about how your day, I don't care how your day is going, like I'm trying to do this work.
Mm.
And just feeling angry like if someone interrupts that, which I'm like, okay, that needs to be said so that people around me can understand that.
Yeah.
um I don't know. That's it for
I
me.
think that's like, yeah, thank you, because I think you talk about like, yeah, I feel like you're articulating like the experiences of it so well.
Mm,
And I feel like that's why for me, like, I I would love to be as well, but
mm,
I think because the way the world is makes it difficult, in the sense that it isn't a world that necessarily is designed to make it easy for someone who's neurodivergent to thrive.
right, right.
And so I think that's where it is important to have things like community to
Mm,
help it feel more
mm,
doable. And I think, at least for me, on a personal note, like things like probably gravitating subconsciously to people who also are ADHD,
mm,
and also like finding that community, it just feels safer. It feels like a
mm,
place where I can breathe a little bit, where the things about me that are a bit different, I don't have to explain as much, because
mhm,
people already kind of get it, because that's
mhm,
on some level how they also might operate. It obviously
mhm,
differs person to person, but
mhm,
I
mhm,
think I've found a lot of safety and comfort in that,
mhm,
especially because, like you, that feeling of being misunderstood is so hard, because it's
mhm,
like, no, I'm not rude. And
mhm,
I think for a long time as well, there's that classification of highly sensitive person
mhm, mhm,
that
mhm,
I took. And for me, it would show up a lot when I'd go to the supermarket. If
mhm,
I go to a supermarket, it can be a stressful experience if you go with
mhm,
me, because I find it overstimulating,
mhm,
and I literally shop like I'm in there and out. I know exactly what
mhm.
I'm getting. And my family wouldn't necessarily understand that. And sometimes there'd be friction with friends where they're like, why are you so aggy right now? And I'm just like,
Like, because I
I need to
am.
get
Like,
out of here.
literally, like, get to your point.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah,
Um,
yeah.
but like, yeah, when someone doesn't understand that, or they see that behavior and then they perceive it to be like rude or
Mhm, mhm,
uncaring or whatever,
mhm,
then
mhm,
that makes me like want to be even more like protective or
Mhm. Mhm.
over apologetic or other things that basically are masking. And
Mhm.
it's so nice to not have to mask. Like,
Mm.
yeah.
Phew.
Phew.
Basically. Phew. What's next for you, Tembi? And this will be my last question. Now that you've been diagnosed and now that you have it affirmed, you know, you always knew, but now you know. Like, what is next for you? Do you know what I mean? And I guess yeah, because some people might wonder, like, well, okay, you have it, so what now? What do I do with this piece of information, if anything? So yeah.
It's a good question. Um, obviously, well, maybe not obviously, but I personally think I want to explore seeking medication on how to manage it.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like that's something I want to try. And I might try it, and then turns out that it's not good and it's not for me. And then I'll find other ways to manage it.
Mm-hmm.
But, and also, I'm not saying meds as if it's a be all and end all. There's a lot
Mm-hmm.
of things that I've put into my life that have helped me to manage and
Yeah.
maintain my well being. Walking is a big one. Like, anyone who
Mm-hmm.
knows me knows I have to walk on a
Yeah.
daily basis, and that helps me regulate so much.
Mm-hmm.
Things like yoga and all those things. Like, there's a lot of lifestyle changes that I've made to help me,
Mm-hmm.
just live well and live better with the way that my mind and body function.
Mm-hmm.
So I think in alongside of that, yeah, I think exploring medication will be important. And I think also I'm still learning how to, in the spirit of unmasking, like something that's been really nice is I've been a lot more myself than
Mm-hmm.
ever before, especially in work, which is a place where I'd usually just only present my most professional self.
Mm-hmm.
But now I'm more comfortable to be my fuller self. So sometimes I'll be silly, and
Mm-hmm.
sometimes, I won't necessarily try and be perfect, because
Mm-hmm.
perfectionism is a big one. We didn't even get into that, but
Oh my god, don't even.
perfectionism.
Don't
They
even.
should probably put that on the list of the criteria. Are you a perfectionist?
Tembi, when I tell you, don't even get me started. I literally said, so I'm getting married, as you guys know. I literally asked my sister and my friend, like, can you guys please arrange like a joint shower, whatever, some sort of shower for me? I have been ringing them, calling them, texting them, hey, when is it? Oh, when are you going to do this? Or, oh, what's it? I'm like, Isabel, what are you doing? Like, you asked them to do it. Like, why are you calling this? It's such a thing
Yeah,
that we need to get rid of because, yeah, it's just a form of control at the end of the day.
yeah.
I don't know. I don't know.
But also, it's understandable, because if
Mm,
you feel like you need to put some control on the level of
girl.
how you are, then it's also understandable. But it's like, how do we manage it?
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, I hope that this, did I answer the question firstly?
Yeah, you want
Yeah.
to explore meds and see if it works out for you, and I
Yeah.
applaud your courage and your sense of exploration. You know, in that because I know a lot of people, just in general, right? Like with exploring or trying new things, it doesn't have to be medication. It's just trying new things. They might just not do it, whereas you're saying, "I'm going to do it, and if I don't like it, I'll stop," and that's it. You know,
That's it. And
so
that's
well
it.
done.
Thank you. I appreciate you. And I appreciate you for just, yeah, being a constant and a really good friend. Because that's important.
Hmm.
That's important. Um, I was going to say something. And yeah, and just continuing to be honest, I don't really actually think it changes much. It just more
Hmm.
gives context, and it gives me permission to not feel like I have to do all the things that I used to do, which is either apologizing for being too much in certain things, or
Hmm.
being too rigid or peering this way. Now
Hmm.
I know I do this because of this.
Hmm.
I can give myself a break now, and like self care,
Hmm.
rather than thinking that there are external factors,
Hmm.
which might be a trigger, but they're not the cause for why
Hmm.
I'm responding a certain way, if that makes sense.
Hmm. Absolutely.
And also, it makes it really clear who is a good kind of person to be surrounded by and who isn't,
Mm-hmm.
and that helps too. And I'm really grateful to have very kind people and patient people and understanding people in my life.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so yeah.
Amen. Amen to
What's
that.
next for you in your
Oh.
exploration?
Oh, girl, what's next for me is finishing this big ass book. Like, I'm really like I'm somebody that buys so many books and reads them halfway and then gets bored. So I'm trying my hardest to finish this book because it's very important and it relates hopefully to me. Um and after that, I think it will be yes, going on that journey to discovering whether I have it or not. And then yeah, just going from there really. My hope or my wish, from I guess a year from now would be I have it or I don't, and actually what measures can I put in place to help me with that. And I think I'm still learning right now, like what works for me and what doesn't. And I think as I get older, I realize, okay, this is something that works for me, this is something, and to work with my brain and not against it and not feel bad for that. So that's what I'm definitely trying to work out. It's like, Isabel, you're not going to go to the gym in the morning. You're not going to do it. So if you're going to go to the gym, how about you get some work done, which is at the top of your mind,
Mm,
first, and then go to the gym as a lunch break, so that
mm.
you're not thinking, why am I in this gym right now when I could be hyper focusing on something so I think I'm just trying to work with my brain in that way and still get the same results through a different method, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah, that makes
Yeah,
sense.
that's me.
Thank you.
No
Well,
worries.
hopefully that was helpful to you guys.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, let us know if you relate to any of this, if it's something maybe you've been on a journey of questioning in terms of ADHD. Um, any questions you might even have about the journey, like DM me, DM us. I'm more than happy to kind of share about that if it's
Love that.
helpful. And yeah, let's just stay well.
Thanks, everyone. See you later.
Hey guys. Thanks again for listening to Somewhat Grown. What should we cover next? Email us at somewhatgrown@gmail.com. We'd love to hear your thoughts. You can also connect with us. On YouTube, search somewhat_grown. On TikTok, find us at somewhat.grown. On Instagram, follow @_somewhatgrown. To follow us personally, find me, Thembe, at Thembe Rain on Instagram and X, and Izzy is @itsizzyeze everywhere. Catch you next time.